Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, a story of slowly watching your childhood turn into a 30-foot tall xenomorph. But if we shift the perspective away from, well, any of the protagonists and instead focus on Henry Wu, then it becomes a story about a man who landed his dream job only for his creations to repeatedly eat, well, everybody. But to imagine that, let me just put you in his shoes. So imagine for a minute you are Henry Wu, a man who clearly envisioned himself as the lead in a sleek, high-budget sci-fi drama, only to be relegated to recurring guest star for 3 decades. Likely because, well, the universe has a vendetta against sensible turtlenecks because Steve Jobs took that from you. Now, you are the man that put InGen on the map, yet you are treated a lot like the guy who forgot to lock the cages, even though you were just doing your job. It basically started in the 80s when you were, well, fresh out of doing your postgraduate. Your brain was vibrating with the sheer scale of your own potential when some guy named John Hammond, a guy who looked remarkably like a friendly grandfather but possessed the energy of a Silicon Valley executive injecting peptides into their bums. But anyway, he offers you a job after some guy called Norman Atherton kicked it, who was coincidentally your research advisor for your PhD, but who will never ever be mentioned again. But anyway, you were chosen to clone elephants. Well, elephants, a charming small-scale warm-up act. Of course, you cannot say no. With a PhD in genetics and a healthy thirst for legacy and no small amount of a god complex, you ascended to the occasion. Well, Hammond had deep pockets, but you had an even deeper and more divine spark. He had the money, you had the vision, and my god, your vision, it was 2020. Not only did you clone elephants, it was basically a triviality for you, tantamount to a weekend project to stave off the boredom of being the smartest man in the world. Naturally, the next logical step was to go for the jugular. The dinosaur. Could you have played it safe? Could you have probably done a Pleistocene era animal, or, you know, like a mammoth or two? Yes, but where is the theatre and a giant rug with a trunk? They'll be asking Picasso to make artwork with crayons. Yes, he's technically competent, but is beneath a man of such lineage. It would be beautiful, but it's not really worthy of a man of your talents. And what you did was genius. By working with Hammond's original work, and apparently his buddy Lockwood, who definitely was a thing the entire story and wasn't just retconned in later so we could have another old man with an amber cane, which they had been extracting blood of dinosaurs from mosquitoes in amber. Yeah, okay, the DNA was always going to degrade, so they turned to you because you are a smart cookie and you figured out how to bring it out. Now splicing amphibian DNA into the mix. But here's the kicker, because of course perfection has its crosses to bear. Most of the viable samples were from the late Cretaceous, yet Hammond insisted on calling the project Jurassic Park. You nearly died of embarrassment, but he said something branding, same as the Deinonychus. He's an idiot, but you know, you don't really care. You just want to play God, and you are a very good God. Anyway, to prevent risk, because let's face it, you're a monster, not an idiot, you opt for the gender lock. All dinosaurs are female. That way they can't have sex. And you make it so they can't produce lysine, because nothing says I own you like mandatory dietary dependency. But you had realistically no reason to expect the animals would find a way past your absolute genius. You know, biology is supposed to follow the instructions, it's supposed to follow the rules, and your rules and instructions were written in Calibri 12 point. It's ironclad scientific perfection. But years passed and basically the park is ready. Hammond invited a few dusty paleontologists and a lawyer to verify your brilliance. Apparently one little workplace accident involving a raptor and a gatekeeper created a legal vibe check. No one said working with dinosaurs didn't have risks, and especially raptors. And you were on the island to witness the latest batch of the raptors hatching. And at this point you are a midwife to history. But then a storm rolled in. Okay, it was a bit of rain. Okay, it was a lot of rain. And a bit of wind. So you had to cut your visit short. But you weren't worried. You had built a fortress of science. Outside of a freak event, there was nothing that could possibly happen. So you headed for the mainland, absolutely confident that nothing could possibly go wrong in the next 48 hours. Okay, minor setback. In the grand scheme of things, of a god-tier career, it was a bit of a beta test, gone slightly south to a tropical storm and a disgruntled underpaid IT guy. You didn't panic though, because you had backups. Although you are surprised that they didn't carpet bomb the island. In fact, you had an entire B-side island, Isla Sorna, just in case they did do that, which was just teeming with other projects, including the Spinosaurus that you'd been tinkering with, just to see if you could make something that made the T-Rex look like a little puppy. And finding the DNA for the Spino was pretty crazy. It was an insane feat, considering there was only one fossil found of the Spinosaurus at that point in time. Still, it's annoying that the people that you work with have basically tried to sabotage your entire career and in legacy with escaping dinosaurs, killing people, and they're finding out the dinosaurs were breeding. It's crazy. It looks like you weren't careful. It looks like you did a bad job. Like, who would have expected they started breeding? What's worse, when you're trying to salvage the mess of the first island because you went there to see what was going on, you watch from the sidelines as the brilliant minds at InGen decide the best way to pivot from a catastrophic island failure is to put the catastrophic island failure in San Diego. You actually had to sit through meetings where people suggested bringing the apex predators of the prehistoric world to a densely populated Californian zip code. Oh yeah, as if that's not going to end badly. But it's not your job to worry about ethics. You are a scientist, not a philosopher. But the sheer logistical stupidity was offensive to you. It's like trying to watch someone wipe their ass with a piece of paper and not toilet paper. Yes, it probably will work, but my god, it's going to make a mess. But hey, it's not your job to fix stupid. It's your job to manufacture magnificent. But then one day you're just minding your own business when you turn on the news. A T-Rex charging through San Diego. Oh, really? Who could have foreseen this? You are initially unbelievably annoyed. It looks bad on the brand. Escaped dinosaurs is a headline that usually implies something went very wrong. And maybe the lead geneticist took a nap on the integrity phase of the build. It makes you look like you're human, not a god. But as you watch the footage of your creation punt a bus across the street, you find yourself kind of fighting a smirk. Like, the musculature is flawless, the predatory drive unbelievable, and the maternal or paternal instinct is profound. Not quite exactly as you programmed, but my god, it's so awesome to see the sheer unadulterated power of a creature that hasn't walked the earth in 65 million years, now casually dismantling a suburban neighborhood. Doesn't get much better than that. And it was a masterpiece, everything you ever envisioned. Sure, the PR department was collectively having a heart attack, but you were just sitting there thinking, damn, I am good. Like, if your creations weren't perfect enough to conquer an urban sprawl, maybe the world didn't deserve your genius anyway. But then Hammond dies. A moment of silence for the man's bank account. Not his business sense. But luckily, you had other idiots at InGen and this guy called Masrani coming out to hire you, because Lockwood isn't a character yet, and his daughter, who is a genetic miracle who you secretly resent, isn't a necessary part of the plot yet. The jealousy that you feel towards that child is palpable because she outscienced you. The audacity is sheer biological disrespect. So, this Simon Masrani appears. He offers you a job at this new theme park, Jurassic World, and to continue your research with InGen. Of course, you accept, and you can return back to the scene of your greatest failure and greatest triumph. And returning to Isla Nublar was, well, a bit bittersweet. They'd left the old crumbling park to rot. It's like a monument or a relic to Genetics 1.0. I mean, it was iconic, but Masrani didn't want a museum, he wanted a spectacle. He wanted bigger, louder, and more teeth. He spoke about safety and guest satisfaction, and apparently, when they think like that, they give you all the money in the world to create new dinosaurs. And that's where you heard the subtext. Henry, please play God again. Please, pretty please, please. You're so good at playing God. So naturally, you develop the greatest dinosaur known to man, Indominus Rex, a creature so terrifying and so genetically bloated, it was practically a physical manifestation of your own ego. Partly this is for the part, but also you have this deal with this guy called Hoskins who, well, he wants a weapon, which means you get to kill two birds with one stone here. But then came the crushing blow to your artistic integrity: sponsorship.
Verizon Wireless presents the Indominus Rex.
You, a pioneer of the ancient world, a weaver of DNA, have to sit through a PowerPoint presentation where they announce Verizon Wireless Indominus Rex, a telecom company sponsoring your apex predator, and you half expected the creature to come out of that egg with a data plan and saying, hey, can you hear me now? How about upgrading to long distance coverage? It was tacky, it was commercial, and honestly, it was beneath you. They took your greatest creation and made it a pariah. So when the Verizon Wireless Indominus Rex escaped, you weren't surprised at all. Honestly, at this point, it's pretty par for the course. That's far, you had destroyed and abandoned two islands, destroyed a city, so why not re-destroy one of these islands again? Like, why not? And you were expecting Masrani to come in and talk to you, but what you weren't expecting was him coming in to try and guilt trip you or something. Like, come on, bro, like, it was him that gave you the green light.
It hid from thermal technology. Really?
Yes, you might have taken a few poetic liberties with the things that he was saying, but he did tell you to do it. But this is interesting. Like, this is really, really interesting. You outdid yourself. A camouflaging 50-foot monster is so beyond what you initially expected, but my God, you are here for it. Like, this is the weapon that you needed. If it can camouflage, oh my God.
Who authorized you to do this?
You did.
Still, it's not really what you expected, but sometimes even brilliant people get lucky. Sometimes brilliance is actually just maximizing your chances to get lucky. And here you just got very, very, very lucky. Yes, the park is probably about to be destroyed, but that's the price to pay for your brilliance and progress. Clearly, there are no walls in this world that can contain your sheer intellect. Unfortunately, he wants to shut you down.
You are acting like we are engaged in some kind of mad science.
But it doesn't matter, because you have the other big boss man, and you have a phone call with him. But yeah, okay, like the whole park is going under. Like, not like it's going to be destroyed, like actual bankruptcy. So, you know, you have to reclaim your work again. Oh, really? Again, luckily, you're pretty good at this now. Like, you know exactly what the deal is. You've got like a whole contingency plan all figured down pat because you've had to do this so many goddamn times. And who would have thought that corporate-funded terrorism would lead to terrorism, an actual terror, and not just you making cool dinosaurs? One thing you do learn from all of this, the whole thing about Jurassic World, is that the raptor they call Blue can listen to commands, apparently. Now, this is surprising because there is also the video footage of Blue showing empathy that definitely existed at this point in time. And now, if you get Blue, you can make something even better because you can use it as a behavioral, well, anchor point.
You have Blue, you get these raptors to do anything.
And instead of a huge tank with teeth, you can go for a dinosaur Lamborghini. It'll be sleek and be beautiful, or at least for a raptor. There's also around about this time when you have this full-on Coco Melon style fever dream where you completely change most of your personality and you hunt kids and come up with a venomous raptor and get poisoned. You do successfully make the hybrid dinosaur Scorpius Rex, and with that feather in your cap, the rest of it is trivial. But when the park goes into chapter 11, you actually get stripped of all your titles, accolades, everything that made you woo. It's a complete embarrassment, really. You only ever worked your ass off and you were the one that suffered because people couldn't contain one measly giant carnivore that could turn invisible. What a crazy world. So, when Lockwood, who is apparently a character now, despite never being mentioned for the last, 5 films and 20 years, well, anyway, he also has a protege looking to sell weapons on the black market, of all places. Either way, it's an excuse to continue to do what you do best, you know, outside of creating that absolute monstrosity of the xenomorph that you stashed away on your hybrid genetics island, that 100% definitely existed the entire franchise. Anyway, you might be Mr. Wu now, but that doesn't mean you can't do your job and be the best damn evil scientist of all time. Who cares if everything that you've created up until now has killed many multitudes of people? That's their fault for being so stupid. And you are God, and gods do not worry about the trivialities of morons. So you come up with the Indoraptor, and it is wonderful. It's basically the perfect creation. I mean, of course it is. This is your Mona Lisa. This is your 9th Symphony. This is your life's work. All you're missing now is the Raptor Blue itself. At least you don't have to call the Indoraptor the Geico Indoraptor. But it is still iRaptor. And so they go off on another expedition. Of course they do. It's been expedition after expedition. But what's worse is, well, there was a giant volcanic eruption at the time that it all happened, and then they shoot the thing. They shoot the raptor. And what does Mr. Suit give for you? Back chat. Nothing but back chat. You're trying to salvage the situation, and he's telling you, oh, they shot the thing. Why would they shoot it?
But I understand the complexity of paying for it, okay?
All he cares about is money. He has no idea about legacy or any of the things that you're doing here. Like, you're doing things just for the sake of doing it because you are the only living person who can do it. You know, and you're pioneering, and he knows how to open up his bank account. Wow, so complicated, brother. Imagine trying to sequence dinosaur genomes. It's crazy. You really did not think it could get worse, but it did. Because instead of getting someone like Hammond or Lockwood, or hell, even Maserani, you get the Suit. You get the pencil-pushing, money-grabbing lunatic that doesn't care about anything except for digits in a bank account. So when he gets to an auction, and you're displaying the Raptor, and some guy offers a measly 20 million for it, he leaps at the chance to sell it. This is what you get for working with millionaires and not billionaires. Hammond, Lockwood, billionaires. This chuckle nut, well, he's barely even a millionaire, and he's frothing at the mouth for 20 million. You've got plenty of lived experience of what goes wrong when you mess with stuff you don't understand. And this guy is woefully ill-equipped to understand what he's doing. There's a reason why there's a scientific process for things like vaccines, new drugs, and so on, and that goes double for a literal death machine for the military. It's worse than that because this is an animal. It's entirely unpredictable. And 20 million? That's not even used yacht money. That's like 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco money. You're selling your God particle for a down payment on a condo. This is your life's work and he's throwing it away.
Relax. We'll make some more.
Of course he doesn't understand. Of course he doesn't get it. Because, like, they're just going to reverse engineer and clone it. Like, 20 million for them is nothing. They'll be reproducing this faster than lemmings. This guy is a short-sighted moron. So you try to, do damage control, only to find out your raptor was given T-Rex blood, and then you also got injected with something you didn't see coming.
I did an intravenous blood transfusion with a T-Rex, so...
You what?
But when you wake up, the world is literally cooked. It's covered in dinosaurs. Like, they all got out. They escaped. This is, oh god, this is like your life's work. It's now everywhere on the planet. It's gone a bit tits up. Both Lockwood and the suits are dead, and that basically meant that you had to do the unthinkable. You had to go and work for Tim Cook's evil twin and his company, Biosyn. But instead of getting to work on like the 700th iteration of the iPhone, he wants you to make locusts. Wonderful. All your skills, all your talents, everything you've done until now, you are now relegated to working with bugs. You could handle your doctorate being taken, or hell, even being a complete pariah, but this is a new low completely. A man of your talents, your magnificence, reduced to working with bugs. But it gets worse. Oh boy, it gets so much worse. Before, you were maybe killing a few people in a city. It was some collateral damage. It's the price to pay for pushing the limits of science. Progress is often paved with the blood of the innocent, but the writing is on the wall. These locusts will destroy the world, and Tim Cook, he does not seem to care. He seems to care less than his brother did when they found out that children were mining cobalt.
This is going to be a global famine. We don't want to cause a panic. We want control.
There's no such thing.
This is a literal apocalypse, and this is your legacy. Not destroying the world through dinosaurs, but destroying the world through bugs. You're not pushing the boundaries with your mad genius and bringing in the era of dinosaurs, but you're going to be the man who destroyed the world with locusts. As at this point that you start to question everything, because you actually think for the first time in your life what you have done might have been wrong. Like, so very, very wrong. But also because it's not cool, right? Dinosaurs are cool. Bugs are not cool.
Cooler, I believe, is the word that you used in your memo.
But anyway, Tom Crook decides to try and reason with you. Tell you, the clone girl that has totally existed, that you have this absolute profound jealousy for her mother having created her and is coming. And then has the audacity to try and smooth you over. And then says, basically, if we don't continue, all the dinosaurs will be gone. Well, how dare you? Who cares? If locusts destroy the planet, what good is there? Who will be left to appreciate your brilliance and your magnificence? What good is a dying world? There is no reason to live unless you live with others. It's other people that give life its meaning. It gives your life your meaning because they're the ones that demonstrate how superior you are. And I mean, you meet this girl and she is rambunctious, she's tenacious, she's everything like her mother, but she's been told a lie. She didn't realize that her mother was like her mother. Like a maternal clone. Like, what is happening, by the way? How did we get here? This was meant to be a fun story about dinosaurs, and now we've got clones and locusts. But anyway, you are trying to work this girl over. You do want her to work with you willingly, because ultimately she is the key to saving the world. But of course, Timon, the scum man, doesn't see it that way. He wants her to be an asset, just like the other dinosaurs. He doesn't see her as a human, merely a clone.
How does she remain an asset, Henry, if you're incriminating both of us by showing her classified things on the computer?
And she let the raptor escape. Lovely. Either way, you've seen this way too many times to know when something's gonna go fucking wrong. So you get lost for the next 90% of the movie, and as predicted, the facility explodes. And yeah, you make it just in time to meet these people while the world is on fire around you, because you understand that these people have something more important than money, fame, power, or even intelligence. They have plot armor and can probably outrun a dinosaur in high heels. I just want to shout out my members real quick, especially Alexander Colburn, Good Old Granite, and Be Wilder Kings. Thank you guys. Your support means everything. And of course, Lavender, Zyla, Toasted Bread, Bosslink, Suzukaze, Takaru, Techno Scorpion, and Alan. Thank you. Have a great day and have a great life.